Welcome back. Today's tutorial is going to be about campfires and reflective light and nighttime scenes. So hope you enjoy this. Alright, we're going to be focusing over here on this area because this is where the campfire is. There's a couple of ways we can approach this, and each of them has their own benefits, and I guess it really depends on what you're going for. But one of the first things we could do is just to make sure that this is done at nighttime. We're going to add a filter, and we're just going to choose the night filter. Alright, and what it does is it puts a layer on there where it looks as if it's nighttime. Okay. Second thing we're going to do is actually put the fire there. Inkarnate has a couple of different campfire options. Let's see, there we go. So this one already has the campfire built in. Okay. And all we're going to do is kind of put this over the old one. Let's get rid of the other one. Alright, and there's your campfire. Okay, now this is on layer 1 right now. The filter we could put on a different layer. At least I think we can. Let's see. Blend mode layer. Okay, this is the 4th layer. So let's put this on layer, let's say 3. Now we'll do 2. Let's do 2. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put this on layer 3. So now this fire is on top. Alright. Because the light is going to be bright. And then it's going to be dim light, after a certain distance. So this is where that grid comes into play. I believe a torch light is like 20 feet of bright light and 20 feet of dim light in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So a campfire is going to be a little bit brighter than that. So let's just go with like let's say a 2550. Okay. Then what we can do on top of that is we can go to the effects, the special effects. Right. We'll get rid of the campfire, and we're going to choose this glow. Alright, now there's different types of glows. This seems a little too intense, but we could drop it there, and then we could change the size. Right, so remember we're going with a 25 and then a dim light for another 25. So that's going to be 5 boxes across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes. Alright, kind of center that there, and then it fades off, and then it's going to go back some dim light even further. We're going to put this below the campfire because this is going to be more for like the ground. And then on top of the campfire, we're going to choose a different brightness or a different effect, just to make this a little bit more centralized. But that seems a little bit too intense. So what we can do there is we can take the opacity and we can kind of lower it a little bit because we want to keep these details. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually put in the highlights or the reflection of the fire in manually. Okay, and that's also going to change some of the shadows as well. Okay, so we're going to keep the shadows there because let's just say the moon is in the same spot as where the sun was, just to make it easy. All right, but this is where things get interesting. I should have actually made a clone map, so let's do that now. Save as a clone. Right, we're working off the same thing, so we're gonna go with fire, just so we know which file it is. We're gonna save this here. I'll zoom through this depending on how long it takes. Alright, we're ready to rock. Didn't take too long. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is everything that we're gonna put a highlight on, so that's everything out to about 50 feet. We're gonna wind up flattening. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So everything up to this point, all of this, we're gonna flatten. Okay, and it's just an approximate. Now it's gonna be interesting because when we flatten it, it's gonna be either to the background or to the foreground. And the thing is, all of the assets that we have on the background are gonna disappear when we flatten it to the foreground. I'll show you what I mean. See how everything disappeared here? Okay, so in order to fix that, what we're going to do now is go back to, there we go. Actually, no, it would have been easier to, okay, hold on. Let's undo that. Okay, we're going to take this entire group, we're going to copy it. So that's Control C. Okay, we're going to turn this into a group to make it easier. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to paste it in the same exact spot. Alright, just try and get as close as you can. Alright, that looks, that's close enough. No, we're going for perfection. So let's see. We don't want this to look blurry. Okay, perfect. That looks pretty good. Alright, one group we're going to flatten to the background. Okay, and then the other group we're going to flatten to the foreground. Okay, the reason why we do that is so like now we can paint directly on, you know, the assets and stuff that we have. Oops. The assets that we have right on the map. Okay, they are now part of the background. I can't select these anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it, they're done. Alright, so we're gonna go to the paintbrush, and there's a bunch of fire, or you know, different brushes and stuff in the hell folder. So I'm gonna take this one here, lava. Right, it's a nice big scale. We're gonna take this opacity and drop this way down. Alright, and then we're just gonna start clicking in some areas where the fire is going to be a little bit more intense. Alright, and we got to think of which way the fire is actually going, so we know which edges to hit with the highlights and which ones to kind of like leave alone, you know. So remember, we're going 25-50 on this, so everything up to 5, so 1 2 3 4 5 is gonna kind of be affected by this bright light. Alright, so let's just kind of create a ring that's kind of showing a little bit of this bright light just all around. Right, from the distance you'll be able to see the contrast and the warmth that the campfire is providing versus just what the moonlight is. Alright, so we're gonna come in. Alright, I'm gonna add just some soft highlights in the bright area. Okay, this is all gonna become a higher contrast once we add the shadows. Okay, and then we're going to take this, let's go to full opacity and make the brush really small. Actually no, maybe like 75%. Let's try that and make it really small, because what we're going to do now is just kind of hit these edges of where the light would be kind of bouncing off of. And the things we have to be careful with this, because if we go to use a different brush to paint over this, it's going to affect the asset below. I mean, granted, we can always put another one on there and then start from scratch, but that makes it a little bit harder. Alright, so again, this light, we're going to kind of, it's going to be reflecting off of these trees. Alright. And the thing is, you don't want to just paint it in like that. That doesn't look very good. So we're just kind of dabbing a little bit, and we're gonna kind of infer that, you know, this light is reflecting off of these assets that we laid down earlier. Alright, so we're just keeping them kind of loose and sporadic. Let's pick a couple of areas that, you know, maybe the lights are reflecting off of. This bridge, this rock, you know, and just the edge of these leaves here, you know, maybe a little over here on this rock and this patch of grass, just real small, subtle stuff. Okay, see over here I can't paint because it's over the water, so we're gonna have to do another set of highlights on the background layer. We'll get to that in a little bit. All right. Okay, maybe a little tiny bit of light is hitting that. Okay, we got these trees. Well, remember, the shadow's coming this way, so there's really going to be no light there, so we can use that kind of show that the shadow is being cast by that tent. It'll get put together. Alright, a little bit of light on that rock. A little tiny bit there. Some here. A little tiny bit there. Alright, maybe a little tiny bit over here on the bridge. That's kind of far though. And then this bridge. And then we can always make this brush real small, so we can get in there and kind of do like little, you know what I'm saying? We have control over, you know, where the light's hitting and where it isn't. You know, put some on the grass over here. We can intensify just the edges here. That's where the light would be hitting the hardest. Alright, maybe a little flap over here is catching some. Same deal. Gonna come here and just kind of highlight just a couple areas. Alright, put some on the grass. Random. Alright. The closer it is to the fire, the brighter it's gonna be. Some tatters here. Maybe a couple of leaves caught it directly over here or something. It's completely random. Make it up. Have fun. You know, it doesn't have to be like super serious. But I mean, it's up to you. You know, if you want like super detailed for whatever reason, you know, maybe you play. They call it WYSIWYG. You know, in like a lot of like tabletop skirmishing games where it's what you see is what you get. So you see how the asset already has the highlight there. What we're going to do, we're just going to intensify that a little bit because, you know, we have that nighttime filter on top of it. Alright. This is just going with the default color. Okay. Let's get some yellow in there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and intensify that a little bit. So we go to advanced settings, go to color, and I'm just going to do the brightness. Alright. Add a little bit more contrast, take away the saturation, and then let's see what this looks like. I want this to be real bright. Real bright. Okay, because this is where it's the most intense. And again, you know, remember once we add those shadows, you know, the contrast is really going to pop on this. Okay, so we have that there. Let's go with a large brush, really low opacity, and then this is going to kind of be like where the dim light is. Alright, so the dim light kind of goes out all the way. Alright, try and remember where those shadows are. Like this area I should have did with just shadow, but I could fix that. It's no worries. Alright, just a little bit of the bright light. I mean the dim light, sorry. Tiny bit. Okay. Now we're going to go to the background and do the water before we really move on to anything else so we don't forget. We're going to go with, again, that's 75, give or take. And then right over here, just where the light would be hitting, oops, Control Z, it's your friend, helps you fix little problems you might have done. Alright, put a little tiny bit, actually no, because it's going to have a shadow from the tent. So maybe a tiny bit here. Tiny bit here. Rocks in the water. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was kind of really looking for. And a tiny some here, because this is the tree that was hanging over the water. So, you know, we have to do any editing on the background section. All right, a little tiny bit there. Okay. So see how it's kind of like building up and getting brighter and brighter and brighter. Alright, so now we're going to go back to the foreground, pick a different brush, right, or texture, excuse me, and we're just going to go to core. We're going to go with that shadow and make this a little larger, lower the opacity so we have more control. And then behind the fire, I'm gonna kind of create a little bit of shadow. Just a little tiny bit. Click, click, click. Alright. And this is just to help create more of a contrast with the area with the fire. You know, we could have left it just the way it was and it would have been fine. Like this, trying to take it to the next level. A whole nother level. I don't know if anybody here likes Key and Peele. They're pretty funny. Good production team. Okay. Now we're going to go with smaller shadows for the smaller details. Alright. Let's go even smaller still. And there's going to be some intense shadow right over here on the outside of the rocks. Alright. And we can even kind of put like little things like this to kind of help create the illusion of like a cast shadow as opposed to just like an ambient shadow. And what we're doing is we're imagining our light source is coming here, right directly from the middle. And we're just feathering out, you know, these shadows. You know, that'll just help create a little bit more synergy with the scene, so to say. Okay. The closer it is, the more intense the shadow. The further it is, you know, the less intense. Alright, we'll do some real small ones here for these little rocks. Wait, that's not right. Fire's coming this way, so shadow will be like that. Real subtle little things. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to get rid of the grid just so we can kind of see exactly what's happening here. And then at this point, you know, let's save it because it's been a lot of saves. I mean, a lot of changes happening. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten the entire thing. And that'll flatten the filter as well, the night filter, and then come back with another set of highlights. Alright, so the way you do that, you go here. No, you don't go there. How do you flatten the map? Alright, let me figure this out. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I got it. I flattened everything. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our brushes. Actually, we can go back to the assets and remember those things we pulled up from the beginning. We can use these, and can you see the difference here? It's like with and without. Okay, so we can add that. Then we can add a smaller one to make it a little bit more intense. To really get that like bright fire coming directly from there. Okay, I'm gonna go back to our textures. Okay, so we're gonna go to real small, full intensity. And we're just gonna come back, and now everything's on the background, so we're just gonna come back and just little tiny little areas of where the bright light might have hit like really hard. Alright, so that's a little too intense, so let's get rid of that. Let's soften that up. Try this again. It's a little better. There we go. We're just going to go in there and kind of create these little tiny highlights on things that would reflect the light the most. maybe a couple of the hairs on the wolf pelt, you know, reflecting this light right on the edge, you know, the nose, the brows, maybe the sides of the mouth. Okay, let's not forget the other edge of the tent over here, the other side. Maybe a little piece of highlights coming there. And, you know, just do what you feel is right. You know, just keep going. This is something that can very easily become overworked, you know, on the piece. But little tiny, like subtle, like here and there with the light being inferred, you know, your players will be able to put that in, you know, in their own heads. Use their imagination and just be like, okay, yeah, that thing is glowing. You know, it's reflecting the light. Okay. And then if you use a program that has some kind of dynamic lighting, then of course you can intensify this further, you know, in whatever app you're using. That's pretty much it. So I'm gonna run through this and add just, you know, some more highlights around here. I think hopefully you have a decent idea of what I'm trying to show. And I don't know, just hope you enjoyed it. So glad you stuck around this, you know, until this far. There's a couple of other tutorials out right now that show how we got to this point. And yeah, I mean, if you like it, leave us a comment, hit that like button. You know, every little bit kind of helps us with the algorithm, helps more people see it, helps us grow. And you know, hopefully you learn something from this. So all right, thanks for watching, and catch you on the next one.